Took this trade in the J period when we filled the singles on the I period. And you can see it's bouncing off that bigger node. Looks a little more obvious if you look at that 5 minute. And then it's also retesting that level. That red line is the settlement from yesterday. You can see on the 5 minute how we came up to it first and then we finally broke through it. And so I just entered as it looked like it was headed back the other direction. I never did move my stop up, but I wouldn't have let that J extend any farther. And really I was watching right here to make sure we got through that level. That's where my cursor's at there. If we would have lost that level with any amount of momentum, I would have just got out of this trade. You'll see I moved the stop up pretty quick because it was so volatile. And I just didn't, if it was going to fall back under that red line, I thought for sure we would, it was going to go lower. I was in the I period earlier when we didn't break the low there, but I got out of that somewhere around the POC. You can see it took my first target. I was just basically front running that overnight high because I figured we took out the overnight low. Once we were getting up this high, to me that seemed like the obvious target was the overnight high. I front run that with the first set, and then I'm holding the second set. You can see the volume kick in, the delta's kicking in. I thought there's a pretty good chance we would make it to that. To me, that was the obvious target. And of course, it did end up moving higher, but then you had a really nice retest of that high. So that's how I was, trading this on the way up. Like I said, I was in that I period and we didn't break the H low, I think it was. And, but I wasn't able to hold all the way through this. Just like this, by the time we get to that overnight high, that's my target. So obviously we went higher, but I wasn't prepared to hold through that at this point because you're looking at I think that ends up being about 60 ticks or so, 50 ticks, something like that. I just wasn't willing to hold with one contract. If I had more contracts, but with the ATR so high, I'm not adding more contracts right now. But like I said, if I had more contracts, obviously I could take one there and kind of wait around and see what happened. But it's moving so fast like this, it could easily sweep that overnight high and then take all this away from me. So I was just going to take it if I made it there and then take another look at it once we broke through that level. And you did have a really nice retest that you could have taken. That red line is just an old level. We've kind of been, I remember we were, was reacting to that level earlier, a few days ago. So I left them in there just so I knew that they were there, but you can see it gets right through and it takes out my last target there.